Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. My name is Lavelle J, and I'm an alcoholic. And normally in a closed meeting, or I say my full name, but I'm being recorded. So anonymity at the level of press, radio, and film. Because I'm an alcoholic who does not want to be anonymous when it comes to members of the people in the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous. Wonderful thing Dr. Bob says. Dr. Bob says, don't be so anonymous that an alcoholic can't find you, right? Sometimes we go overboard with the anonymity thing. Thank you, Steve, for all the work that you do for Alcoholics Anonymous. Very appreciative of it. And one of the things that got me so excited when I saw you, what you guys were doing, and I kind of jumped in. I'm unapologetically a nerd for Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm that guy who they call big book thumper, guru, and all that good stuff. And I used to early on, I used to kind of find it offensive, and it hurt my feelings a little bit because I grew up with that same perception in life. So it brought back some memories when I was early in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm grateful that for effective sponsorship. And I hear my sponsor talking to me in my head. So if you guys have a sponsor that you don't hear, it's probably time you get another sponsor, right? Because I always hear my sponsor. Page 55 of the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous says, deep down inside every man, woman, and child is the fundamental idea of God. It may be obscured by pomp, by calamity, or worship of other things, but in some form or other, it is there. That's that voice inside that tells me when I'm going right or wrong, right? That's that voice that tells me when I need to go left or right. And my gratitude in Alcoholics Anonymous today is that I have a voice, and his name starts with a D. It's David. He's that voice when I need to go right or wrong, right, left or right. And I hear him telling me, tell these people you have a sobriety date before you start running your mouth and they think you're drunk. So see, because I get excited, I might, I jump out the chair, I might start talking, my teeth don't, I don't have any adhesive in the bottom teeth, so they might fall out. So I get to, y'all might think something wrong with me. So I have to tell you, I have a sobriety date. My sobriety date, by the grace of God, is November 12th of 2001. And that's only through God's amazing grace and mercy that I have a sobriety date. I wasn't one of those guys who just thought it was time to come in. I had to surrender it. And for those people who got up one day and said, "Man, I'm going into treatment and I'm done with this thing and it's over with," I thank you. But I wasn't that guy. I had to be convinced, right? I had to be convinced by the alphabet people. CHPD, right? I had to be convinced by the alphabet people. DOC, Department of Corrections. Those are the people that had to convince me that it was time to come in. I've had plenty of moments of truth in my life. My sponsor always talks about the moment of truth. I know I'm supposed to be talking about step 9, and I'm going to get to step 9 in a minute. One of the things I try and do is exactly what our big book tells me to do. I try and follow direction. Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous says alcoholics are very undisciplined people, so we allow God to discipline us in the very way we have just outlined. So I try my best to follow the disciplines of Alcoholics Anonymous. Bill W. in Language of the Heart says the sole purpose of Alcoholics Anonymous is for the practice and teaching of AA's 12 steps. So that's what I'm here for. And in doing so, page 91 talks about tell him exactly what happened to you. Stress the spiritual feature freely. I hear a lot of people today in Alcoholics Anonymous says, well, I don't give drunkalogs and I only talk about the solution. I talk about the solution, but in order for me to tell you that there's a solution, I have to let you know I had a problem. Because see, I don't know about anybody else, but if you just tell me, all my life I had solution. Nobody was ever able to help me identify with the problem. Because the people around me seemingly had no problems. I was the only one. Fourth step in the 12 and 12 says we are victimized by our erratic emotions. I was always overcome by my emotions. I was always a victim of everything that I felt that happened to me, right? I never did anything to anybody else, so I thought. And it was always something that was happening to me. And it started early on. I didn't know, my life took a lot of ups and downs and twists and turns early on. My father was murdered when I was 7 years old. And right after, and I remember so vividly, right after my father's funeral, during the repast at my grandmother's house, started my adventure into escaping reality. His younger brother at the time thought it was okay to give me to put a bong on my face and have me smoke this substance that made me. So everybody in the front room, the kitchen, the living room, everybody all over the house was crying and mourning the death of my father. My father was a well-loved man, but he also lived a life that put him in a position to where his life was taken. So all these people are crying, and the only thing I can do is take the environment that I'm around, and I'm a product of that. So I'm kind of tearing up too. And the only thing I understand as a 7-year-old is that my father's no longer here. And I was just a little smart kid. So my memory was great. I could recall things quick. And I remember having these experiences with my father, and education started early on for me. But after my uncle gave me that stuff when we were in that room, I immediately felt different. Wow. I started to feel different. And from feeling different in that room with everybody laughing and joking and having a good time, even though the other people in the front, my mom, my grandmother, and everybody else was mourning my father, we were in a room laughing and joking and playing, and life was different for me. My sponsor always says that I'm an alcoholic, I have a disease, and the 12 steps are the medicine for what ails me. He said I can either do something I can either take something to make me feel different or do something to make me feel better. Today, because of sisters and brothers like you, I don't have to take anything to make me feel different. I can do something to make me feel better. Alcohol and drugs help me to escape. And I mentioned those things. Bill W. talks about in Bill's story, bathtub, gin, and sedative. Dr. Alcoholic Addict, which is affectionately known as Acceptance Was the Answer today. He talks about drinking and shooting Demerol, trying to make it to the bed before he, from the garage, right? But I am definitely an alcoholic to the core. Alcohol was the very thing, along with the other stuff, was always the stuff that I needed to help me to escape reality. And that's all I wanted to do. I came in Alcoholics Anonymous, and a lot of people around me used to always say that, man, you just look. So for the purpose of me talking about me, they used to always tell me, all you need is Jesus, right? All you need is, but not only all you need is Jesus, then I had other people telling me all I need is a lie. I had other people telling me all I needed. See, so before I made it to Alcoholics Anonymous, after that seven-year-old experience, my mother was so afraid of me following in my father's footsteps that she really put us, me and my sister, we were educated quick. So I was this kid that was kind of sheltered into education, but I also grew up in a neighborhood that gangs were prevalent. And I say gangs because that's what you guys know. See, you guys have a lot of negative connotations for things. See, I call them organizations, right? See, I didn't used to steal out of stores. I used to borrow merchandise. You guys call it stealing. I was borrowing, right? See, I always had to make up in my mind something different so that I don't feel so bad. And that's what my life was all about, how I feel. I'm grateful I came into contact with the sponsor I have today. He said, I don't care about how you feel. I care about what the solutions you're going to do to change your life, right? And I'm supposed to feel what I feel. My feelings are fact. Now, let me tell you, I came in educated, right? I have a lot of education by the time I made it to Alcoholics Anonymous. I was 30 years old. I graduated. By the time I got here, I had a master's degree in mathematics and English. I had served in the military. I fought in the war. So how could you tell me what it was to be like to live, right? How could you guys give me any other information that I really didn't already have? I was confused. Here it was, came into Alcoholics Anonymous and had the understanding that the life that I had been living, the way I had been living, was only existing. I was only living to escape reality every day. See, I wasn't, I know treatment, they talk about you. I was committing suicide on a daily basis. I wasn't. See, because I remember trying to commit suicide. At my first attempt at suicide, I was 15 years old. I had already graduated high school. I was in college, and I came home on break, and I just felt that my life was always like a chalkboard being scratched with long nails, like, that's how I always felt. Because the kids that were my age, I was always above them in education, and the kids that I was in classes with, I was so much younger than them. So I never felt that I fit in. I could not find a way to fit in with anybody. And with this always feeling I couldn't fit in, I always was going by the way I felt instead of what reality was. My sponsor talks about the moments of truth. One of the moments of truth that I had was the first time I tried to commit suicide. I was 15 years old. I took enough pills to kill me and a couple other people. And luckily, because my mother had got up to use the restroom, she found the note that I had done. Because see, as I said, I was a smart kid. My sponsor helps me to understand today I'm a smart dummy, right? So I'm just smart enough to be a dummy, right? I'm a crash test dummy deluxe. And it's proven because of the way my life was lived. And so my mother got up, she saw this note, and I can remember her yelling, oh, Claude, get up, Claude, get up. That was my stepfather. Told him to get up. They rushed me to the hospital. They pumped my stomach. And that was the first time my mother tried to get me to a place to get some psychiatric help. And I was just smart enough to go in and tell the doctors that I wasn't trying to commit suicide, that it was really just a letter for reaching out for help, and I was just trying to get high. And so they, stopped the treatment, and I went back to school and got my education. I continued to go up and down in life and live the way I did. By the time I was 18, I was at the military for my 19th birthday. I had graduated college, and I was at the military entrance processing station on my way to the Army. So again, my life was always on the fast track. So when I get here to Alcoholics Anonymous, I'm running into the same thing when it came to, I talked about it where people were saying, oh, here come that big book dumper, here come that big book. Why would I be in the very place that's saving my life and not know how to follow directions? Wow. Why would I pay for an education and not read the material? Wow. And I remember talking to my sponsor and telling my sponsor, I said, man, I feel, because they would say, well, it don't take all that. And people would say, I know the program, but I don't know. What they would say is, I can't quote it, but I live it. How can you live something you don't know? Like these things were blowing my mind. And then I was, my sponsors say they're just stupid enough to think it's an insult, right? Calling me a big book thumper and a big book guru. He said, why would you not want to learn the very thing that's saving your life? I write SOPs for companies. And for anybody that works for a company, standard operating procedures. If you don't follow standard operating procedures, you lose your job. Same way with this life. I have to follow the SOP. Standard operating procedures for the life that I have today is the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous and the 12 and 12. They give me the directions that I need so that I don't have to feel the way I used to feel. And then I don't have to be a big crash test dummy as I used to be, right? I didn't say I'm not anymore. I say I don't have to be as big as I used to be. See, I don't want to get you to confuse that because I practice these 12 steps in all of my affairs today, that life still doesn't happen. Life still happens. I was fortunate enough when I came to Alcoholics Anonymous, when I made my first meeting. I've been here since I got Because by the time I got here, I had all the things that I had all the alcoholics experiences that I think that an alcoholic needs to stay in Alcoholics Anonymous. In the late 80s, I was part of that same organization that my father was a part of, because people had continuously did the very thing that we hear all the time. People say sticks and stones may break my bones, but words can never hurt me. It's the words that hurt. I'd rather you beat me with sticks and stones, because it's what I say. It's what I continuously say into people. It's what I continuously sow into people's spirit and their mind is what they act out. And people would always say, boy, you just like your dad. Boy, you just like your father. Boy, you just like your father. And I wind up being just like my father. Not only did I wind up being part of the same organization that my father was a part of, I ended up going to the same correctional institution that my father was locked up in. I ended up doing some of the same things that my father ended up doing. The only thing that didn't happen to me, my father actually got shot and murdered. I was shot and I lived. I got kidnapped on the west side of Chicago by another organization, right? And they were looking for me, and they kept me for 3 days. They beat me and they shot me and left me in the alley for dead. It was only because a lady was walking her dog about 4 o'clock in the morning that she called the ambulance, and I was in a coma for about 2.5 months. They tried to kill me. My sponsor says that after doing my inventory and we went through, my sponsor says that God loved me so much that I never felt the full consequences of my actions. Wow. And I remember I used to always ask him, what do you mean God loved me so much I never felt the full consequences of my actions? Because all the things that happened to me, I felt those. Look, I feel they the full consequences, right? Look, you get some of those breakaway butt whoopers that I got, those are consequences, right? See, as I said, I shot, stabbed, kidnapped, all that stuff. January 13th of 2001, I flipped a Land Rover over 9 times. I broke my pelvis, fractured my ribs, punctured my lungs, broke my nose, and knocked all my teeth out. And I'm still here. Yeah. Howard like, woo, boy, yeah, you safe, right? Look, look, once I got here, Howard, it was like safety. Look, I didn't need no more. So I wasn't here trying to be contentious. I wasn't here trying to poke holes in what y'all was saying. I was saying, please let me stay. See, because I had been part of a lot of organizations trying to find this spiritual launching pad. I had been a Christian. I had been a Baptist Christian. I've been part of the Church of Scientology, and I had been a Black Hebrew Israelite. I had practiced Islam. I had tried all these things, trying to get what you guys have made so palatable for me. You sisters and brothers have done something to with and for me that nobody else could do. And it was only because you had the identification that I needed. You guys showed me something. You opened up. You started talking about what happened to you. You didn't sit and tell me, hey, you need to do this. You need to do that. If you only stop, if you. You guys said, hey, this is what happened to me. And then I read Bill's story, and Bill started to talk about what happened to him and how all the inconsistencies in his life. And I was like, wow. That's all I was saying. I was like, this is me. I started to get so much excited. And then I started to read stuff more about alcoholism, and there is a solution, and like we agnostic. And I'm like, wow, I've been sober over 21 years and I'm an agnostic. I came in as a devout Christian. Today I'm an agnostic. And I call myself an agnostic, not saying that I don't believe in God, so I don't want anybody to get confused of what I'm saying. I said that one time, and the guy talked to me after the meeting. He said, man, for you to be an atheist, you sure talk a lot about God. That let me know he wasn't listening, right? Because I didn't say I was an atheist. I say I'm an agnostic. And the word agnostic means ag without gnostic knowledge. I don't believe I have the full knowledge of God. I'm still seeking. My great-grandsponsor used to always say, I always ING. I'm always learning, growing, understanding. Right? I'm always trying to grow in understanding the effectiveness. I'm always trying to grow in my relationship with sisters and brothers like you. I'm always trying to let me get to step 9. See, it's so much information before step 9 that like it's impossible for me to just jump into step 9. See, because Because I'm a crash test dummy. I messed up America and 3 other countries, right? See, I remember getting kicked out of California. I'm talking about literally the Postmaster General, Sacramento Police Department, the Federal Bureau of Investigations drove me to the border of California and Nevada and told me if I come back, they was gonna lock me up for the rest of my life. Yeah, because see, they knew I had did some things, but some things that I did, the way I did them, it wasn't, they really couldn't prove, and they just didn't want the headache. See, back then they would just kick you out the state, right? So because of you, sisters and brothers, I haven't had to be kicked out of the state in a long time, right? Don't mean if I get outside of spiritual principles, I won't get kicked out of a state again. See, I ain't confused. I need to stay connected. Says my constant thought of others and how we can help meet their needs. That's why I'm here. I'm not, let me say this. I understand today this is not a selfish program. I hear people today say that all the time. This is a selfish program. I need to do this for me. I'm not sober for me. I have some grandkids that have never seen me drink. My oldest granddaughter is 7, she just turned 17 years old, and she's never seen me drink. She's never seen me take all the mood and mind altering substances that help me disconnect from life. She's never seen me act a total fool. Wow. That's an amazing gift. I stay sober because of the people I have in my life today. That's why I'm sober. I used to drink because I could not live up to what other people thought I should be or who they thought I was, or me always disappointing people. That's why I drink. Says men and women drink essentially because they like the effect produced by alcohol. To them, the sensation is so elusive that even though they admit that it is injurious, they cannot, after a time, differentiate the truth from the false. See, I couldn't tell difference from what was true and what was false. Only thing I knew is the way I was feeling. And anytime I disappointed you, John, anytime I disappointed you, Kath, anytime I disappointed Jessica, anytime I disappointed Malik, I did not know how to live and communicate as a human. The only thing I knew was I needed to drink. I needed to escape. I needed to not feel the way I was feeling. Wow. Again, 4th step says we are victimized by erratic emotions. Once I get to understanding these emotions and going through my inventory, and those things are important, you know, writing an inventory. And the inventory process, let me tell you, is so simple and easy if it's done the way it's laid out in the big book. It's not a boogeyman. It's not some hard. You don't have to write 19 big book loads of pages of stuff, because it just asks me to do inventory. It asks me to inventory specific certain things, right? And then once I get into a 5th step, I talk to somebody about it. And these are the things that help me. I need to share this. I remember when I did my 5th step with my sponsor now, and we were sitting talking, and here my feelings came back up. I was feeling that stuff that I did to people. I was feeling, and as I'm sitting crying and still talking to my sponsor and feeling like the worst of the worst, I'm feeling like less than 0, right? I'm feeling like God doesn't want to have anything to do with me. And I remember my sponsor wrote down something, and he slid it to me. He said, I want you to read this 3 times. And as I'm sitting there reading, he said, I want you to read it out loud. And I started to read it, and it says, I'm a worthwhile human being in spite of my faults and imperfections. I'm okay because God don't make no junk. I'm a worthwhile human being in spite of my faults and imperfections, because God don't make no junk. And by the 3rd time, I was like, I'm a worthwhile human being in spite of my faults and imperfections, God don't make no junk. Right? I'm slobbing, teeth falling out. I'm like, but that was the greatest. In the 5th step, it says we talk about having these spiritual experiences, but then we really get this connection with God, right? We really feel, at this point, we really feel the nearness of our Creator. When my sponsor helped me to see and understand it, I really felt, because at that point, I've already went through step 3 and 4, and step 3 told me either God is or he isn't, and what was my choice to be, and I'm feeling this connection and this. So I'm like, okay, well, if God don't make no junk, I'm really not junk. I just make mistakes. I'm a human being. I'm trying to get past my feelings. And if I can get past my feelings, I can make better decisions. See, the corporation I work for, they don't care about how I feel about stuff. They want to know, look, like that old show, only the facts, ma'am. right? Only the facts, ma'am. I don't care what you feel, how you think. What are the facts, Lavelle? What did you do in this situation? I don't care. Because see, I want to, I got to explain to you how it happened, why I stole their stuff, why they made me do what I did to them. Because see, they made me do it, right? it had to be. See, that's why I needed to make amends, because they made me do stuff. Here on page, we're gonna go into the big book. Page 83 says, yes, there's a long period of reconstruction ahead. We must take the lead. A remorseful mumbling that we are sorry won't feel the bill at all. We are to sit down with the family and frankly analyze the past as we now see it, being very careful not to criticize them. Because see, when I come make amends to somebody, I want to tell you how you listen. If you hadn't have did this, I wouldn't have did that, right? See, that's how all the conversations start. I only did this because you did, right? The only reason I cheated, the only reason see, I can hear I can see the baseball bat being swung at me now. How dare you, right? Because now all I'm doing is bringing back all old hurts and pains. See, I'm not making amends. I'm causing more harm, because I'm coming to tell you what you did, why I did what I did. That's not how the amend process works. Page 83 on the in the 12 and 12 says, "May direct amends to such people wherever possible." Not whenever possible. See, because whenever possible, it just ain't gonna happen. See, see, whenever is when I feel like it. If I owe you $100, I gotta wait till I get 100,000 to give you your 100. Right? Look, Howard would say, it ain't gonna happen. Right? See, I'm gonna try and avoid you. I'm gonna go around the other. I'll move across the United States to not have to make amends to somebody, right? Because I ain't got to see you no more. See, the big book tells me, see, I'm an evasion artist, right? The big book tells me that if you can't make these amends, right? So I'll say, well, I live too far away, so I can't do it, right? But here in step 9 on page 83, it says, good judgment, a careful sense of timing, courage, and prudence. Wow. Even with all my education, I still needed to look these words up. I needed to understand. I need all these directions before I go sit down and try and make amends to somebody. See, it says, these are the qualities we shall need when we take step 9. Case in point, I'm sitting in a house that's owned by my best friend. Now, let me tell you what I've taken my best friend through. My best friend is the very same guy that in January of 2001, we was riding in his Land Rover that he had just bought. It had 83 miles on it when we started on our way down to Memphis, Tennessee. I had been drinking and I fell asleep at the wheel because he trusted me to drive. I fell asleep at the wheel. I flipped that truck over 9 times. Almost killed me. He had minor scratches on his back. That very same friend, when I was in the hospital in Cape Girardeau, Missouri, drove back down to Cape Girardeau, Missouri and picked me up and drove me back home. I had told a lie for years that somebody had cut me off and I had to hit on brakes. Now, mind you, the way I told this lie was always something, as I told y'all, I'm a smart kid. I've always been a smart dummy, right? So right after I had the accident, the Missouri State Police came up and he gave me my story. I heard the Missouri State Police said, I saw someone cut this car off. What happened was I came up so close on the back of a camper. When I woke up, I slammed on brakes. The camper never cut me off. I fell asleep. When I woke up, I slammed on brakes. We hit a patch of black ice and I almost killed us. I've been telling that lie for years. And a few years ago, I had to honestly tell him about it. And I say, well, man, you know, I fell asleep at the wheel, and we began to talk about it. He said, I already knew. He said, I know you're a liar. See, it's the people around you already know you the lyingest lie to ever lie to lie. Here it is. Not only that's one situation he's been through me with. I remember his mother is now deceased, and I tell this story. He's not in the house. His mother is now deceased, and I remember she trusted me more than her kids. One time she gave me her keys and I cleaned out her entire house. Yeah, I stole everything out of her house. Now I could tell you about the things that happened with my mother. I stole from my mother. I did all these things with my mom. My mom is deceased also. But I'm telling you about the other people that were part of my life that trusted me. And it had nothing to do with the stuff and things that I took. It was all about the way I damaged them spiritually. The trust factor. People in our lives don't care about, especially when they, see, if you said you love me, you got an extra heaping helping of hurt. Yeah, I hurt. It's impossible for me to hurt the people that don't love me because they don't care about me anyway. It's the ones that say they love me that get all the hurt and pain. Today, because of you guys, I don't have to give people all the hurt and pain that I used to give people. I want to share something with you guys in step 9. It says that and I lost the page. I was it's a part in here that says when we get to step 9, we're not only taking responsibility for ourselves, but we're taking responsibility for ourselves and the people around us. So when I make amends, when I'm trying to develop right relationships in my life, I'm not only trying to clean up my side of the street. I hear so many people say, well, I'm just trying to clean up my side of the street. But if cleaning up my side of the street puts more garbage on your side of the street, am I really cleaning up anything? Am I actually cleaning up my side of the street and taking the trash to the dumpster so it can go to the compost heap? Or am I cleaning up my side of the street and throwing the garbage on your side of the street? Wow. I have to know that. I remember, and I'll share this and I'm gonna shut up. I remember, and this is about somebody who was trying to make amends to me, and it taught me something at the same time. It's a person here in Alcoholics Anonymous, and young lady I was in a relationship with, and she said that I need to make amends to you, and do you have time to sit down and talk to me? And because I had totally gotten over the situation, and I was good. The big book says sometimes things need to be water over the bridge, right? Sometimes we need to let bygones be bygones. And in this particular situation, I told her, I said, no, I'm okay. We've both done damage to each other, and so I'm okay. And she, no, you need to make, and she literally accosted me at a meeting to force me to read this piece of paper that she had written out. That's not the way we make amends. That's not the way we make amends. Not in Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm not just trying to clean my side of the street up so that I can make your side of the street worse. I don't have to get sober at somebody else's expense. That's what you guys teach me. You sisters and brothers have given me something that has changed my life, has flipped me up, turned me right about and inside out. Hot diggity dog, I didn't have to take a drink today. How amazing is that? And that's the reason Dr. Bob got sober. Dr. Bob says, I'll end with this, our fellowship was founded, not our program, but our fellowship was founded on the 9th step. Dr. Bob says he was willing to do anything but make amends. But he went out on a fateful day, June 10th, 1935, to make amends to the people he thought that didn't know that he was messed up already anyway. Right? Sometimes it's just that simple, not worrying about how I feel, but worrying about what the truth in each questionable situation is. That's all it is. When I do my inventory, it says we're trying to find the truth. If I'm looking for the truth, my life will usually turn out better. If I'm not worried about how I feel, and I'm worried about the truth, my life will turn out better. My sponsor always says, don't make decisions based on your feelings, because 99% of the time you're going to make bad decisions. So today I'm doing better than making decisions based on facts and truth rather than my feelings. I hope that something I said is going to make you not just want to leave Alcoholics Anonymous, but make you want to pick up a big book in the 12 and 12 and go through the steps. Steps are important. It's only because of the steps that I'm still sober in Alcoholics Anonymous. I've had a lot of trials and tribulations since I've been sober. I've had a lot of stuff happen to me. I've been divorced several times in Alcoholics Anonymous. I've lost several successful businesses in Alcoholics Anonymous. And I haven't got drunk because of it. Because I didn't go based off my feelings, I was able to deal with truth. And it's only because of sisters and brothers like you who helped me to continuously see the truth. Again, Steve, thank you for this platform that you have given us. Thank you for continuously pushing the big book in the 12 and 12. My sponsor always says, read the black on the pages, Lavelle. So with that, I'm Lavelle, and I'm gonna keep reading the black on the pages. I'm an alcoholic, and I'll keep coming back. Thank you.
I don't know.